Right guys, hopefully this finds you well. Welcome to the session. My name's Paul, this is Plan Z, and today we're going to dive into the Boss GT1000 BG combo. But before we do, I've just turned on the gear, I've just turned everything on for the camera, and I'm just going to bring up my game pot and just get my ears acclimatized. This is my boutique. Now, the reason I want to start on the boutique is I'm going to change speakers to dial in the BG combo. Now I've already been dialing it in. I've got my gain pot on about 8 and we're on a Bogner EL34, which is what I've been using to dial this in. Just going to change this to the cabinet I'm going to use for the session. Which is a Mesa Boogie open back EL84, which is what would be on a BG combo. So let's hear what it sounds like on the boutique first. A bit less lows, a bit more highs, I would say. Right, so now let's change ourselves. We've got all these amps. Let's get down to where the BG combo is. Okay, level wise I think we're good. Let's go to the low gain, putting the gain pot up on full. So what we've got is we're going to come in, we hit a divide, we've got a synth in this side, and then we've got the amp chain. So there I've got a univibe which is engaged with a chorus at the end of the chain. Let's turn that off for a moment. Then we've got a fuzz. We've got a drive, and in this patch I'm using the Tube Screamer with the drive on 0. The tone at the moment on -3, level on +100, bottom on 0, and I bring a little bit of the direct mix in to 5. We'll turn that on a little bit later. Then we've got the noise gates, and I put one either side of the amp, and they've got both the same settings at the moment. Sometimes I have this at 60. We may well be doing that later in these sessions on this amp. Now the low gain, I've got the gain on 10. I've got the sag for the first 4 patches. I've got the sag on -10, with the exception of one of the amps in this patch here. Both the amps on this patch here have got the sag push, so we'll talk about that when we get to it. Here we've got the resonance on 5. On all the patches I'm putting the resonance on 5. I really like it there. And the level here on 80. But my bass is at 47, my mid's at 60, leaving my trebles in the middle there at 50, and my presence also at 50 for the low gain. That spectacular, but it's a low gain. Now if you know anything about the GT1000, you know that we get like a high gain channel of an amp, and then we get like a breakdown of a low, medium and high gain of that. So it's a fairly dirty amp for us in the GT1000. So with the medium gain, I've got the gain at 40. Before we go further, gain at 40, level at 65, resonance sag the same, but the bass at 45, mids pushing them a little bit more to 66, pulling back some of the highs and pull back the presence to 40. When we go to the high gain, nothing changes. Nothing changes except for the fact that it's a high gain. Stick a boost on. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stay with that for the moment. What we'll do is go through the patches first. Now here we've got the first EQ as a graphic EQ. Just boosting the 125 a bit, taking out 1 of 250, taking out 6 of 500. Taking out 4 of 500 for the minute. Sorry, not 4, 5. Taking -2 on 1K, -1 on 2K. So the classic smiley face with 0 on 4, and I'm pushing 8K by 1 dB. The next one is literally dealing with my highs. So we've got, in the overall, I'm taking out a -1 and a +1 to the low and the high. And then the overall level is boosted by 3, I think, because I'm taking out a chunk of 4K and I'm taking out a chunk of 5K. I've opened up the cut here on the 5K, and I just want to I'm just going to pull that 4K back to -4, just take a little bit of that harshness away. Yeah, I'm going to leave that like that for a moment. My high cut is at 8. Remember, I'm just pushing there before that cuts off, and then I've got my low cut at 100. The push is coming from the EQ before, remember. So what we then do is we've got the compressor. Now the compressor isn't doing much. I've got the sustain and attack at 50. I'm using like a mastering compressor approach to this. Got the direct mix coming through at 30, the ratio of 1.6 to 1. But the tone is up at +7. I find bumping the tone helps, and let's... So I'm ending up on +10 now, which is the same as the rectifier the other day. My level is at 34. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn all this off. 1, 2, 3, just the amp going out to 2 notes, which is in my speakers here. So that's the amp on its own. Let's introduce the first EQ. So level wise it's good, and it's taking out those muddy mids, but it leaves us with those highs. So let's deal with those highs. Turn it off. Yeah, okay, so now the compressor, we should barely feel it. Okay, so that's how the amp is basically set up through the different gain stages. So in this one, I'm going to fly through these next two. We've just got a stereo setup of that. So we've got the 2 amps set up, one each side. They're both dialed in using the same principles that we just discussed. Only one is on the left, has its own EQ here before the noise gate. And the other is on the right, has its own EQ before the noise gate. And there I'm putting a smiley face slightly differently on each of the sides just to give us a spread. So here, with the medium gains engaged, we get this. Now here we've got the gain on 30, so a lot lower. Let's come out of there. In this patch, we've got the same setup, but the gains on 60, I think. Yeah, the gains are on 60. Just the flag, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, the threshold is at 60 on this patch, and the release on 1. I just find it slightly tight. Yeah, it's nice and tight there. So let's just come out of there. Very little change there between that medium gain pushed at 80 and the high gain pushed at 80. Just a slight change. So what we're going to do now is from that patch, let's go to this one here. Now this one is like the rectifier patch I set up the other day where we've got the JC120 in. So we come in, we've got all the same arrangement, but here I've got a high gain within this amp. So what's changing is this here. So when I switch that to blue, it's a medium, and when it's red, it's high, medium. Everything's slightly differently here. Now, what have we done? Oh, we've got that presence up at 60. I think we're just going to pull that back. So I've got that set up in a size because I'm changing the amp within the amp block. So here I've got the different for each. So I'm just going to pull that back by, just try 46 for a second. I'm going to leave that there for a moment, go to medium. Yeah, that's okay for me. And then here we've got a JC120. Now the JC120 I've got set with the gain on 44, again the sag on 0, plus 5 resonance, the level on 45, I've got the bass at 47, the mids at 45 is that, and the treble on 50. I've taken the bright off on this one. In the rectifier patch I got the bright on and I pull the highs back. Okay, so that's what's going on in there. So let's just save what we changed. Then in this patch I've boosted the sags. So when we come in, I've got the sag up on this is a medium gain with the gain pushed at 40 still. I'm still not pushing it very high. But we've got the sag engaged. So we've pulled the trebles back, we've boosted the mids to 70, we've got 43 on the bass, the presence at 50. So with the sag up, you can kind of boost your presence a bit more with this amp. It doesn't kind of hurt your ears so much. I found this amp's got something in the high end there. So here, rather than a JC120 as my clean, I've just cleaned up a BG combo. But I've got the sag in the middle. And the gain down on 14, the middle on 45, the bass on 47, the highs on 60, and the presence on 70. I've just pulled the mids back to 40 there. I think I'm going to save that as that is. I'm just going to save that change. And then before we go any further, I just want to show you something on the reverb here. So Tera Reverb, interesting reverb. I've got a set up in here so that we've got control over, we can add a wet channel. This comes directly out my sub outs. We're going into the original speakers. I've got them on flat though. And I've got a chorus after the effect, which is having a very subtle movement to the effect. I've only got the direct level coming through at 50. So, ooh, there you go, there's a little flavour. So what we've got is, if you just strike the, you get the echo side of it. Go to the low gain. Now what I wanted to show you is in this patch I've got myself set up so I can just go to the wet on its own, and if you use this effect, what you can do is you can put on a trigger here, and what it will do is it will hold what you've done. But what I've tried to do is I've done a little experiment where I can get it to hold without using this. I'm going to show you what I've done. So I'm just going to play something, engage that, Now that's just going to hold that like that, and if I hit the strings, nothing happens. Can't hear any, there's no audio over the top of it. If I go to my dry channel, I can then add the wet, but I'm still dry over the top, right? So I can add my HXeffects. Let's do that. Just added a delay. So, and you can assign that to a foot switch, but what I've done, I had a little experiment, and what I've done is I've got on an assign. When I press this button here, you'll notice that the feedback jumps and the level drops. And what I'm doing is I'm getting it to a point where it's feeding back continuously, and the point of which of no return is 98. If you go beyond 98, it starts to explode. But you can find quite a nice place where it will hold itself and you can do different things with it. But when I did that, I needed to drop the levels. So I'm starting off with a level about 20, so very low, and the feedback on 50. But when I hit the button, the level drops by 3, but the feedback jumps to 98. And what that sounds like, if we go to just the, let's just go to the wet. What I'm going to do is, actually, let's, what we're going to do is just very quickly tune up to an E. And let's try using this to create like a synth pad sound. And then we'll have a heavy jam in D in just a second to test this BG combo out. But let's try something a bit lighter first. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring in a beat. So I'm going to strum a chord, and just after I've picked it, I'm going to catch the end of my overspill and hold it, and then let go. Do the same. Yeah, now the nice thing when this is holding, this will, I'm just going to let that hold for a while. Let's just come out of there so we're dry. So to me, that's a nicer sounding hold sound than it is when you use the trigger. It just sounds a little more lively, but what I can do is I can kind of dip back into it and add to it. If you've got headphones on, you'll hear that either side of you. Okay, so I just brought it to a close there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try using that to kind of create like a little synth pad thing at the beginning of a jam. So let's go into the wet. Let's give this a go. So I'm just the first pass, I'm just going to strum my way through the chords, and then I'll take a loop. Okay, I'm going to do it now. See if that works. While we're listening, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out of there and save it as a medium gain. Let's go back to the low gain, stick on, I think it's a clone I've got in there as a clean boost. Just going to pull my gain pot back to 8. I stick a fuzz on, but let's go both pickups with the gain on 8. the other ear, stick on some wets. We're actually in a low gain on the neck pickup. Okay, now we've got that in, I'm going to cut to our main patch, just stick on a bit of Reverb. Going to the low gain. Take away the synthy part. Okay, what we're going to do there is end that jam now. Let's just hear how that ended. Nice. That synth idea worked out quite well. So what we're going to do now is do a last 2-minute jam. I'm going to go to drop D, see how it sounds in drop D. Now I've set up 2 different jams for us using the same beat, different bass lines and different guitar riffs, so that we can try out these amps and see what they sound like in different environments. Let's stick on the first. I think I'm going to go with a low gain on that. Oops, sorry for knocking the camera there. What we're going to do is just get started. This patch I'm going to go put a boost on. We've got an OD1 instead of the tube screamer, which we've got here, just with a different colour. Let's see what it sounds like with a medium gain pushed. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to work with that. Sorry, I just need to had a flipping faff. Gonna start that again. What I need to do is just delete the loop I put in, which I can't do. I've got to start the bloody video again, or just persevere. So we're just gonna get rid of those loops. We're gonna put in that first loop again. I hit the wrong switch. I went to stereo rather than the right channel. Let's get going. Sorry about that. Okay, we're in. We're going to go to the medium gain with a boost, stick on a Reverb and a delay from HXeffects. Okay, yeah, I'm going to end that there. See how that sounds in the sound check. That's my BG combo through the 2 notes, Mesa Boogie, 412s. Open back we went with there with an EL34 power amp sim. Yeah, that sounded fat. Let's just... I'm not playing, I'm just listening to what's going on. Yeah, that's fat. Okay, let's end that there. Catch you later. Bye. And oh, by the way, if you've subscribed, thanks for your support and curiosity. Take care. Bye-bye.